and welcome to 2020. Happy New Year. And we just didn't enter a new year, we entered a new decade. I just want to thank everyone for being part of my journey in 2019. Thank you for holding my hand, for encouraging me. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for commenting, liking, subscribing. I'm so grateful to every 86 persons that did that for me. I thank you so much, and I'm so stoked about 2020 because I feel it's going to be an epic year, and the decade is going to be an amazing, awesome decade. And not just for me, for you as well. And that's my prayer, for you, that God will hear you and God will answer your prayer, that you have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to understand, perceive, and know what God has for you. So 2020 is, I don't know, an amazing year. I want you to please invite your friends, your family, your loved ones to subscribe to Stories and Scribes, and don't forget the notification bell so that you are notified of new videos that are uploaded onto our channel. So tell me, what have you been up to in 2020? What books have you been reading? If you can, please share with me in the comments below so that we can share ideas. And if there are these books you want me to read as well, please holler at me so that I can read and give you my thoughts, on things that I learned from that book. Well, for me, I've been reading. Yeah, I've been reading. In short, I've been doing short things like 24 hours books, reading 24 hours, reading this and reading that. And I'm so stoked. So the first book that we are doing today is also the first book I read for the year 2020. And it was a book that was totally beautiful and amazing. And the title of the book is The Secret Life of Sarah Hollenberg. And it was written by Bethany Turner, who is this is the first time I'm reading her, so she's a new author to me, and I'm introducing her to you. So one of the things that I am doing is to introduce you to authors, Christian fiction authors that you probably never heard of, and write amazing and excellent books. So let's read the synopsis and we go on from there. Becoming a Christian is the best and worst thing that's ever happened to Sarah Hollenberg. Up to now, Sarah made a very comfortable living as a well-known best-selling author of steamy romance novels that would leave the members of her church blushing. Now she's trying to reconcile the past with the future she has chosen, and she's still under contract with her publisher and on the hook with her enormous fan base for the kind of book she's not sure she can write anymore. She's discovering that church might frown on her tithing on royalties from a scandalous book, and the fact that she's fallen in love with her pastor. Ooh. Well, let's just say that doesn't make things any easier. With a powerful voice, penetrating insight, and plenty of humor, novelist Bethany Turner explodes onto the scene with a witty debut that isn't afraid to deal with the thorny realities of living the Christian life. Well, that was just a synopsis. And I'm introducing what I call the Snitch. So, for your information, Stories and Scribes is spoiler alert. Because when I'm talking about the stories, I bring, when I'm talking about the lessons I learned from the book, I bring stories from the book, which could be considered spoiler alert. So please note that. But if you don't like spoiler alert, please indulge us. And if you love it, come, let's ride on. So let me give you just about Sarah. Sarah is a trophy wife, and she married this very rich guy. And you know how trophy wives are. They live for their husbands because their husbands ensure that they are the center of their world. So dinner parties, lunches, charity events and all of that. And she is as a trophy wife now, always pasting a smile on her face in spite of whatever is going on in her home or in her marriage. Now, fast forward to a few years later, no children, and which has been her desire, no children, and her husband is always giving an excuse as to why they can't have children now, and all of that. And she finds her husband with another married friend of theirs, which leads to a divorce and Sarah being on her own. And she just woke up to discover that she didn't know who she was because her world was centered around her husband. So it made me ask the question that, Jemima, who are you in spite of all the addendums added to your life? if you weren't a wife, if I wasn't a mom, if I wasn't a friend, if I wasn't a daughter, if I wasn't, in the job I'm doing, making the kind of money I'm making, or, if I wasn't just who I am right now with all the other things attached to me, do I know who I am? Is my identity sure? And I've just begun to understand that I cannot get I cannot reference my identity from the things that are around me. I reference my identity from the person that made me. Every product has a manufacturer, like we all know, and the products cannot tell the elements around it to give it its identity. No, the manufacturer gives the product its identity. So if I use that illustration, who made me, who gave me life, is who I should draw reference of my identity with or to. So God is who gave me life. God is the one who gave me life. And I can't look to my children or my husband or my job or my business or my friends or the car I ride or the house I live in to determine who I am. Psalm 139 is an amazing book, psalm chapter of the Bible that I totally love. The Bible says, before you were born, I knew you. Like, think about it. Like for women, before our children are born, we don't know them until they are born, then we are introduced to them. But God says, before you were formed, before conception even happened, God already knew you. And everything about you, your framework, the way you are, was programmed into who you are. And if God can do that about me, then why do I look to someone else that is as human as I am to draw my identity from? So in 2020, my identity is from God. I don't care what the economy says. I don't care what my friends say. I don't care what my husband says. I don't care what my children says. If it does not align, it does not align with what God says that I am, then I refuse to draw that identity from. So I encourage you, go back to God to find out who you are, in spite of all the addendums around you. Who are you? Now, as a trophy wife, you know that one of the things that happens is that your husband is like your everything, your world, your beginning, your end. And Sarah didn't have friends, so she didn't have true companions. She didn't have people that she could talk to, people that she could share ideas with, people that could comfort her, people that could tell her the truth. So she joined this book club, and in a book club, everybody was being, how everybody is nice in a false way, and I try not to hurt you, try not to hurt me. There's no real relationship, just talk about the book and go. So there was a time she, in trying to discover who she was, wrote a poem out of a telephone book. You know how you just flip through, you get a word, you now combine with another word to try to see if it will form something nice. And so she brought it to the club and said, okay, please, you guys read it and what do you think? And everybody was trying to say, well, it's nice, well, it's okay. So here comes Piper, who says, what you wrote was nonsense. Like, it doesn't make sense. And she was shocked, like, who are you? And I never noticed you before in this group. And you had such audacity to tell me the truth, really, because that was really, really what it was, the truth. And, from there, she started a relationship with Piper. And I think that for the first time in her life, she had never had a friend who could actually tell her the truth, which was quite refreshing. So I want to ask you, who are your friends? And do you have friends that actually tell you the truth? I don't mean friends that, want to just gain your favor all the time. Do you have friends that will tell you straight up that no, you did this and it wasn't right, or yes, you did it, it was right, but I think you could do better? And I was in auditing my own life, I discovered that I have wonderful friends like that. So I want to shout out to, these are not all my friends, but I want to shout out to Lulu, I want to shout out to Ella, to Obi, I want to shout out to Jennifer, I want to shout out to everyone that is my friend. It has been lovely knowing you. And thank you for keeping me accountable and on my toes, because they always tell me the truth, that kind of thing. And I'm so, so, so grateful to them. Okay, so going forward, so Piper and Sarah now become friends. And in discovering herself, she now writes steamy romance novels. And while I'm a sucker for romance, I can understand when in your mind you you form stories that you wish happened to you, or wish that could be your reality, but it's not. And that's what she did. She ended up writing steamy romance about people, the things that she would have thought would happen to her, that kind of thing. And boom, they became bestsellers. And it just reminded me of the time when 50 Shades came out and everyone in the world was reading it. And truthfully, I read it. And yes, I know I asked God to forgive me reading it. But then I began to ask myself why. Why did I read them? Why are a lot of people reading? Because then, even in the Christian community, a lot of people saying a lot of Christian women were reading it, pastors' wives, and all of that. And I began to say why. And I think that one of the things that people we read those kind of books, or people read those kind of books, is because they wish it happens to them. They wish it was their reality, and it may not be in the extreme form in which it is being presented in these books, but just the thought of being, loved by someone exclusively and being expressive in the way they are, not in the extreme form, like I said. I think that is the attraction to it. Anyways, Sarah begins to write these stories. It becomes a bestseller. She now has a publishing deal. She now has to write one or two or three or more books. And one of the things she did was to write under a pseudonym. So nobody knew it was really her. Do you understand? And one day, she discovered that her ex-husband was getting married to a younger lady, and the lady was already pregnant. I know that really triggered some madness in her, because all the while she was married, she wanted a child, but her husband always giving her an excuse. And here, just a few years after the divorce, he was already getting married again, with his girlfriend, being pregnant. And that triggered her, and she now wanted the whole world to know who she was. And she did an interview with one of the major news outlets then, in her book, yeah, in her time, in her own reality. And everybody now knew that she was the one. So the frustration of her husband getting married, the pressure of, having the fan base, but still knowing that people did not love her for who she was as Sarah Hollenberg. They loved her for who she was as the pseudonym in which she created those characters, was an underlying frustration for her. Because all along, why do people love me? Do you understand? That was one of the questions, and that was the thing she dealt with. Why do people love me? Do they love me for who I am, or do they love me for what I can do, what I can give? Do you understand? Or what favors I can trade with you? And that was the underlying thing of her frustration. And do you know that when her husband found out that she was the best-selling author, he now began to come back and say, baby, how far? And she was not like, how in heaven's name would this be happening? Why would you want to come back to me now that you think I'm successful? So that was one of her frustrations. And herself and Piper had an argument, and they stopped talking because Piper was a Christian and she could not reconcile why you write steamy romance novels, because they are contradictory to what she believes as her faith and what she believes as a Christian. And they've reconciled. And in their reconciliation, Sarah was able to tell Piper what she truly felt about the acclaimed fame that she has, her husband Patrick coming back, and all of that. And in that anger and frustration, beneath the crying and everything, Piper introduces Sarah to Jesus. And there and then, with the conviction of the Holy Spirit, Sarah gives her life to Christ. Now that she's given her life to Christ, she felt all light and breezy and all. But reality check, the sun doesn't turn because you give your life to Christ. Your life changes, but like the Bible says, you have to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. That means every day, every minute, every hour has to correspond and be in line with what God says about you and what God says about your world. And one of the things that hit her first, as a Christian, how am I supposed to be writing steamy romance novels? And that was one of the big things she had to reconcile. Now, Piper encourages her to say that take it a day at a time, read the Bible, join a believing church, which she was part of, and let's take it from there. And as we continue, God will lead you. I must say that truly, when you come to Christ, it depends on how your conversion was. If it was like Paul, that was dramatic and radical, then things radically change. But more often than not, when Christ meets us, he meets us in the place that we are. And from where we are, we're to journey with him to the place that we are going to with him. So when you give your life to Christ, the sun really, like I said, except it's like Paul, doesn't drop from the sky or change to blue. No, but your life, your heart is receptive towards the love of God. And in that love, it takes one day at a time to change your life, to change your world, to change your mind, and to change everything about you. Now, Piper invites Sarah to church. Now, this part got me all excited and giddy. And when she was going to church, they came early, sat in church, and now said, oh, she quickly wants to go to the bathroom. In coming out of the bathroom, she collides with a man. And she didn't know he was a pastor of the church, but she took her breath away. So, in all of the time of her divorce, Sarah never really dated or, thought of dating or falling in love anymore. But when she saw the man, you know how they do it now? They will jam, something will fall, they now pick it, now look at each other, they want to have a moment. And he was not like, oh, sorry, and sorry, and all of that, and all of that, all of that. And she went her way, and he went his way. And guess what? She now sat down and told Piper that, oh, she just had a moment with someone, blah, 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 blah. Only to find out that that person was the pastor, the new pastor of the church. Oh my God, like, how do you have a moment with a pastor? She's just a new Christian. She had a moment with now that she knows is the pastor. Like, is that sin? Is God against it? She couldn't reconcile all of that immediately. So after church, you know how now after church, now everybody waits to see pastor. And just imagine you had a moment with pastor. You, if you want to see the pastor after church, I need to understand or to confirm whether the moment was mutual or just me on my own that had the moment. And when she was approaching the pastor, he was talking to someone, new, and the person was now like, "Oh, I met your daughter in church. Your wife must be very proud." Immediately she heard that, Sarah turned back and bolted out of the door. Remember, the cause of her marriage breaking up was infidelity, and she could not imagine for the life of her how she'd be involved with a man of God that is married with a daughter. So that was out of the question, and that was how she just exit out of her head. So her and Piper were talking, and you know how when two good girlfriends are talking about experiences in their life or moments they had, she was now sad. Oh my God, how would it be? Blah 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 blah. And Piper just said, "You don't know the full story. You just heard something, and you're already concluding. On it." Finally, to fast forward, she met Pastor at a coffee shop, and he began to tell her that okay, he now began to say that, oh, that we had a moment and all that, and she got up and started waking up. I told the pastor that he should not even try it. That he's a man of God. She's disappointed in him. How would he try to proposition her in this kind of thing and all of that? So she stormed off. And the pastor was like, hey, what have I done? What is this about? Only to meet her outside, and he understood that she thought that he was married. And he was like, no, that my wife had died, and my wife died 4 years ago. And oops, then she now became sorry that she threw that outburst and that tantrum, and they reconciled. But the thing was that they both agreed that that moment was mutual, and how to go on from there was now what they had to figure out. And one of the things I really appreciated with Sarah and the pastor was that when they began dating, they had one rule amongst other rules, and that was honesty. And she was quick to tell him, even after the second date, that she was the one that wrote these novels, which was a huge blow for him, and they had to walk through all of that. So in the course of the relationship, because they wanted to honor God in their relationship, they set rules. There were no what they couldn't do in front of a chaperone, they wouldn't do it. They won't be alone for too long. They won't be in the bedroom together. That they will have dates, and they will be somebody must always be with them. And if nobody's going to be with them, they have to date in an open place where everybody was there and all of that. And I think that I love that because it was deliberate. And in the course of the book, yeah, there were times when there was temptation. There were times when they almost fell, but they were deliberate, and there was an exchange of strength. Like when the pastor is weak, Sarah was strong. When Sarah was weak, the pastor was strong. And it was so beautiful to see that in relationships, you can honor God. In dating, you can honor God. All you need to do is say, I want to honor God, and not just say it with your mouth. You have to do things that will enable you honor God. And those are the things they did. And I applaud them for that. Now, Pastor had this girl that he was dating since. I know how it is now. And the girl was in the same church. You know how it is how girls now will love being love with pastor. And she wanted the pastor by all means. So she dated him, got pregnant for someone else while they were dating. They broke off. Pastor now met his wife, married his wife. His wife is now dead, and now she feels she's next in line. And the girl really messed up because when Pastor found out that, Sarah is someone he loved and he really wanted to go the whole 9 yards with, he proposed to her. And she threw a big tantrum. And guess what? She told the press, she called newsrooms, the press, and told the press that the pastor impregnated a girl in the church. And you know what that does to a reputation? You know what that does to your career, your ministry, everything. And see, what is not yours is not yours. And if you see that somebody has moved on from what you thought who you thought you loved or the desire that you had in your heart, learn to let it go. And it's not just about relationships, it's also things in your life. You wanted that contract, you didn't get it, let it go. You wanted that job, you didn't get it, let it go. You wanted the promotion, you didn't get it, let it go. In 2020, let's learn to let it go. Because the truth is, nothing just happens. As Christians, I don't believe in happenstance. I believe in God coincidences. Because the Bible says God is working all things together for your good. But if something does not happen to you or for you at that time, just trust that God is working something out for you. And at the end of the day, she lost. At the end of the day, she didn't get the pastor. At the end of the day, she had disgraced herself because the truth had come out that she was pregnant for someone else. And and that was it. So for me, it was so amazing because Sarah had to find out who she was. Sarah had to negotiate the terms of her life. She had a publishing contract. How did she go out of that publishing contract? She now started writing Christian romance novels, which was, you know, far from what she was writing, as far steamy romance novel. So every day of your life, God negotiates it for you. As long as you hand over your life to God, God has a plan. God is wise, and God can give you wisdom on how to negotiate the turns and the twists of your life. And at the end of the day, Sarah married and Pastor Benjamin, and they lived happily ever after. But obviously, every other thing follows, the crises, the ups, the downs, and everything. So I would recommend this book any day, anytime. It was funny, it was witty, realities, on divorce, infidelity, finding yourself, friendship, and true friendship. And when you read it, please tell me what you think. So this book can be gotten at Sefer Books and online Christian fiction bookstore. I don't know if Latana will have it, but you could check there as well. And please watch the video, like it, tell me what you think about this review, and if you would like to read the book as well. All right, have a wonderful day, and bye.